Welcome to the channel. I'm a doctor. I've seen things that don't always fit into textbooks. Moments that no protocol can prepare you for. Some of these stories are my own. Others were shared with me by colleagues, nurses, paramedics people, who, like me, carry the weight of these moments long after the shift ends. This is a space for real stories, the kind we rarely say out loud. Some are tough, others deeply moving. And every now and then, we meet patients that go beyond anything we could ever imagine. This is one of those stories, and even though it started with a simple procedure, it ended in a conversation about the universe, cosmic consciousness. So get ready. This is the story of the patient who didn't want anesthesia, because according to him, the universe had already anesthetized him. It was a Thursday evening shift. It's one of those slow days. Suspiciously quiet. The worst we'd had was a blade wound that looked rustier than sharp, and a shoulder dislocation from an improvised soccer match. I was already mentally checked into a slow afternoon. I was about to take my mug for a coffee when I got the call. "Doctor, someone's waiting in the procedure room. A wound for stitches." Perfect, I thought. Quick and easy. Check it, numb it, stitch it, clean it, and let the universe keep spinning. I walk into the room, and there he is. Mid-20s, skinny, relaxed, very relaxed. Wearing a tie-dye shirt that looked somewhere between galactic and watercolor accident, baggy linen pants. Most notably, he was barefoot. Yes, barefoot. In a hospital, the first thing that caught my eye was his tattoo, a mesmerizing geometric pattern. I'd later learn it was the flower of life. If you've never heard of it like me back then, it's a symbol made of overlapping circles. Very sacred geometry, very spiritual. He also wore a quartz pendant around his neck, held by a string that looked like it came from an artisan market. The second thing I noticed, how he was sitting, lotus position on the gurney, as if he were deep in a transcendental meditation session, not about to get stitches. I smiled out of habit. It's that kind of polite smile you give when you've seen it all, but still get surprised. "Hi, what's your name?" "I'm Nathan." But my cosmic name is Ak'Chan. Perfect. Nathan it is. No offense. But it is easier to pronounce. I explain the procedure as neutrally as possible. We're going to use a little local anesthesia. It'll sting at first, but then you won't feel anything. I'll be able to clean and stitch the wound without discomfort. Sound good? I asked. Out of protocol more than anything. In my head, there wasn't really anything to discuss, but Nathan looked at me calmly, like he was staring at me through a spiritual fog. Silence. Then, with serene conviction, he said, "That won't be necessary, doctor. Sorry. Anesthesia. I don't need it. I'm connected to the universe. My energy centers are aligned. I am spiritually anesthetized." By this point in a medical career, you've heard everything. Patients healed by plants, prayers, or raw tuna diets. But this was new, so I took the diplomatic route. "I understand." "Really? But the procedure involves inserting a needle a few times, and that hurts a lot. The universe may be at peace, but your nerve endings still live in this dimension." He smiled with an enviable calm, like he was floating on a cloud of incense. "I know, but pain is an illusion. If I close my eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize the blue energy of healing, I won't feel anything." I paused. It's not for lack of words, but because how do you argue with someone who calls himself a Ak'Chan? So I decided to do what we do with any theory in medicine. Test it. All right, mind if we try a small test? First, I grabbed a safety pin, gently approached the edge of the wound, and gave the tiniest prick. He flinched. Opened one eye, then the other. That was unexpected. That was the universe sending a signal. He took a few seconds. Thoughtful. Maybe my energy field isn't fully sealed yet. Maybe. We exchanged a look, smiled, and without another word, I picked up the syringe. In medicine, not everything is black and white. We learn to respect patient beliefs. Sometimes, and go along with them, as long as they don't put themselves in danger. So I said gently, "I'm going to take a closer look at the wound before we proceed. Sound good?" poured a little saline over the area, and cleaned it with sterile gauze. Clean cut, straight, about 7 centimeters. Not huge, but not small enough to leave alone. It needed several stitches. There was a small patch of necrotic. Skin, nothing serious. But it had to be trimmed before proper closure. I explained it clearly. Before I close it up, I need to remove this dead tissue. If we don't, it won't heal well. Nathan nodded, eyes still closed. Give me a moment to realign. He adjusted his quartz, closed his eyes like he was channeling ancient wisdom from Orion. I prepped the syringe, and then I said it straight. Listen, if you feel pain mid-procedure, I'll have to stop. Trust me, halfway through a cut is not a spiritual experience. It's not divine punishment. It's just necrotic tissue. He sighed. All right, a minimal dose. But only if you use the one with the highest vibration. I nodded, smiling. I didn't tell him it was all the same lidocaine from the same vial. But I placed the ampule gently on a gauze pad, as if on a sacred altar. He looked at me with doubts. Then I take 2 more and did the same. He extended his arms above the 3 of them, take a deep breath, as trying to feel the universe, and slowly move his hands above one of them and said, "This one, use this one if it helped." It helped. I gave him the anesthesia. For small injections to cover the area, Nathan closed his eyes and began breathing deeply, making strange little humming sounds with each exhale, like he was invoking peace or channeling cosmic energy. I stood by his side, waiting for the meds to kick in. As I prepped the scalpel and loaded the suture, I heard him murmur, "Everything is one. I am the skin. I am the scalpel. I am the ouch." Apparently, he wasn't one with the scalpel yet, because he feels when I check with the needle if the anesthesia has done the effect. All right, let's wait a little longer, okay? He nodded, wide-eyed. Clearly, his energy field needed more lidocaine. I started when the anesthesia was working. We finished quickly. Everything went well. Bandaged, gave instructions. Then came the hard part, prescribing an antibiotic to avoid infection. I mean, no offense, doctor, but those are just toxins for the body. Nature already gave us everything we need to heal. I smiled. Yes, and actually, many antibiotics come from nature. We extract the useful part and remove what can be harmful. It's like making tea, but with science. He looked at me, skeptical but polite. Didn't argue, so I breathed, smiled, and wrapped up. Take care of the wound. Here's the prescription. Come back in 7 to 10 days to check the wound and remove the stitches. He stood up, but before he left, he paused. Doctor, can I ask you something? Sure. You mentioned removing a portion of skin, right? Yes? I knew where this was going. Can I have it? Want to bury it in a lunar garden? It's part of my energetic closure. Not gonna lie, I was surprised. But not as much as I expected to be. I glanced at the table. Thankfully, the bit of skin was still there. I grabbed one of those stool sample jars. Clean, of course, and placed the skin inside. Here, I said. He took it with both hands, like it was a sacred relic, and left grateful. A few days later, he came back for his follow-up. The wound was healing well, clean, no signs of infection, stitches in place. I asked how he was feeling. Excellent. The energy is flowing better through that channel. Last night I dreamed you were a giant hummingbird. That means you're healing too. I looked at him, smiled, and left it at that. I didn't argue, didn't try to understand, because at the end of the day, he was doing better, and in this job, that's what really matters. Medicine is often science. Sometimes it's intuition. And occasionally it's a cosmic comedy where someone wants to bury a piece of their own. Skin is part of a healing ritual, and that's okay. Because over time, you learn not everything that heals comes in a tablet or a vial. Sometimes what heals is being heard, or having someone honor your closure, even if it comes in a sample jar. If this story made you smile, or reminded you of that unforgettable patient you still remember from a late-night shift, I invite you to subscribe, comment, and share. What's been your weirdest or funniest moment in a medical consult? Tell me, because here, on this channel, stories aren't just told, they're shared.